Hey guys, back on the bench is the Byron AT6 Texan, a very old Byron AT6, as I've mentioned in the past probably, but I like repeating myself. Why the hell not? Got it back up here, getting some more work done on it, since the other projects I was working on are kind of sitting for now. Done a lot of work to it, a lot of work. Got the wings all repaired. This is going to need some more filling and sanding and some reinforcing. You can see it's a little loose on the trailing edge, but I'll be able to shoot these with primer, then put some more filler in there and make that all nice. Ran into a lot of problems putting the wings back on. Not sure if I mentioned before, but this the last time this airplane was flown, it was ground looped on landing, which ended in a cartwheel. And the way these wings attach, there's aluminum straps here and about here that slide into sleeves in the center section, and they're held on with these two screws, which just clamp them in. Obviously these are not cut to the right size yet, but all this stuff changed when the plane was ground looped. So it took quite a bit of work to get everything straightened back out to the point where the wings went back in. But one thing that didn't line up at all is I could not get the flaps to operate properly. There's a servo up in here that operates the center flap, but this flap was actually warped. When it was closed up here, the tips were probably down by about 1/8 of an inch. And I really didn't feel like yanking all this stuff off there. It's got these really nice hinges in there. I just really didn't want to yank it out of there. And they didn't actuate the outer flaps very well. I had tubes that ran across that were supposed to interlock and work together all nice and smooth. Yeah, that just didn't happen. So Byron, I guess in their manual, I only know this because he taught them this song to sing. Roll on highway, roll on along, roll on daddy till you get back. Huh, my phone just rang for a minute, so whatever. Anyways, I guess per Byron they offered this airplane in 3 different ways. You could build it 3 ways. There was the pylon racing version, the scale version. Obviously, the pylon racing version, you didn't use any of the flaps. This would have stayed where it was. This would have stayed where it was. The scale version obviously had all 3 flaps working as the way the full scale would be, and it had what they called the sport version, where this would have stayed retracted, this would have been sealed, and only the center flap would have worked. So that's what I was originally going to do, until I was reading online that apparently there's a lot of full-scale T6s that actually bolted their center flap so it stayed closed and only used the outboards. And I like that much better. So all I'm going to do now is probably cut a hole about right here, recess a servo in there, and glue a control horn on there, and just have each wing panel have its own flap servo. So that'll keep it nice and clean. Other than that, it's getting close for ready for primer. As soon as I get the holes cut for the wings, for the flap servos, the wings will be ready for primer. I still need to do a little bit more sanding. There's still a little bit of gunk on the surface from the water transfer graphics that were on here before. But I'm having oh, it's making me nervous because one of the wings here, I think it was this strap right here, the front strap on this wing section was loose inside the wing, and I was actually able to pull it out. I re-epoxied it so it's strong, but I just have a bad feeling that the pockets that are in here, that those aluminum straps go into are wore out. I could just picture the wings folding on this thing. But I kind of gave it a little bit of a stress test. I had my son come downstairs last night, and we each grabbed it by a wingtip and hoisted it in the air and kind of shook it a little bit, and it stayed nice and solid. So that's a good sign. But still nervous. There's a lot of really old adhesive holding this airplane together, and I really don't feel like cutting in and removing parts just because I think they might not be holding up. So, but we'll see. We're getting close. I kind of figured this project wasn't going to take too long, and it really shouldn't. It's just a basic restoration. I'm not doing any scale detail on it or anything. It's just going to be a nice shiny blue color scheme when it's done. So just wanted to fill you in on the wing and flap situation. Once I get the servos mounted for the flaps, I'll bring it back, show you how I did it, and show you how it looks. But yeah, I think it's gonna be so much nicer just having the outboard flaps. And since it's actually scale, I don't feel as bad for doing it. I thought about just gluing them shut and leaving it like that, but I've flown enough Texans to know that for a big, heavy T6, flaps are very necessary. Probably the best flying Texan I've ever had and or ever flown was, believe it or not, the Great Plains 40 size T6 ARF. No flaps. Had what did I have in there? I think I had an OS 56 4-stroke in it. Unbelievably awesome flying airplane. But this plane here is going to weigh probably between 30 and 33 pounds. Maybe even more, I don't know. I generally don't weigh my airplanes, but that's what I'm guessing. But everything's nice and straight, so that's good. Alright, I'll bring you back later. See ya.